I'm Doug Massi, and by the time that you've actually watched this, what I want to refer to as a true sales training video, you're going to know how to effectively overcome objections in a way that only the strongest sales professionals in the final expense and life insurance industry know how to overcome objections. First, we're going to talk about some of the objections that we get, regularly, and then we're going to break down what the client is saying, and this is important, whether it's actually the true objection or not. And then I'm going to show you exactly how to deal with the true objection so that it makes sense for your client and they, really trust you enough to go ahead and pick an option and say, I'll take number 3. And first, I'd like to invite you to give this video a thumbs up and please subscribe, if you're new. We're putting out new content all the time. And guys, if you're here at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to get a copy of the warning page that I leave with every policy that I sell. This bad boy is absolutely perfecto for scaring off new insurance agents that are like trying to replace the life insurance or final expense policy that you sold. We've all heard the saying, buyers are liars, right? Well, allow me to break down that saying so that you understand what it really means, at least to me. Buyers will give you an excuse if they, one, get cold feet and then change their mind, after you already sold them. They'll call and cancel, right? So I'll show you how to deal with that. 2, they will make an excuse to get rid of you if they do not trust you. And 3, they will not buy if they cannot afford the product, or in our case, life insurance, what we're selling. Here's the gold, guys. So grab a pen and paper and write this down. There are 2 main reasons that people give you objections while you're selling insurance. And 90% of the time, they're either A, not trusting you, so it's all about trust, or B, they really don't think they can afford it. So it really doesn't even matter what the excuse is. Whatever's coming out of their mouth, the true objection is almost always about a lack of trust or about affordability. So how do we know when whatever they are saying is about them really not trusting you, or when it really is that they just can't afford it? And what can we do to change all that? First, let's get into affordability, because this is usually, pretty clear-cut and simple. You see, when they can't afford it, they usually will tell you that they don't know if they can afford it, or maybe they don't think that they can afford it, or they might even say that they don't think they really need the insurance. And they'll say that, maybe they don't really think that they need it because they might be weighing the value of the insurance, in comparison to the price. They think, is this cost worth the sacrifice? And guys, let me be clear. When I sell final expense insurance or life insurance, and I'm dealing with someone who doesn't have a lot of money and or who maybe is retired and just getting by, living on a fixed income, I'm not making the mistake of trying to sell them on a value product, and this is important. I'm selling them on affordability. So instead of pitching the client a presentation that shows several options, starting with a nice funeral to like an average funeral, down to the cost of the cremation, only to have them say, well, I need the funeral, so I guess I'm going to need to go ahead and take the $187 option, only to have them, cancel. And, because there's no way that they can afford this. What I do is I sell them on what they can actually afford. Instead, during my presentation, I assure them that I work with a lot of companies, and some of them have their products specifically designed for people on a low and fixed income, and that I can guarantee some of the absolutely best rates. Sandy, by the time that we're done here today, I can guarantee 100% that you will never have another insurance agent walk through that door that can beat the prices that I'm going to show you today. And that's my personal guarantee. So when I present my 5 options, I've already set the stage for them to understand that I am batting for them and that my goal is to beat everyone else's monthly rates. I do not try to convince them that they can afford something that maybe they can't afford. That's just a bad idea. To me, it's a big fail with these folks. When you're trying, when you try selling them on the funeral, if they can't afford the monthly payment for that, then they will use that as an excuse not to pick a lower option. You know, they'll tell you something like, well, our family always does funerals, that's our thing, and I can't afford that expensive funeral option, so I'm just gonna have to shop around and find another way to do this. Which is why I always show them face amounts of life insurance options and sell them on what they can actually afford. When I know that whatever they are saying is about cost, then here's what I do. First, I back off a little bit and I'll say something like, you know, Joanne, I completely get it. Give me one moment, please. And this is when I go back and I do a price drop close. The key to doing this correctly is to have yourself set up to drop your price, right? And when you write your death benefit options and your monthly premiums, there's no reason for you to ever show like the cheapest or your bottom cheap price to be less than $50 per month. Never. If you originally show them a bottom option, you know, let's say you show them 5 options and the bottom option is $23, they may say, oh, I can't afford it, which is often that natural knee-jerk reaction that, you know, that our market, the people, you know, that we sell to will react. That's how they react. And guess what? Now you have nowhere to drop the price to. You've just totally blown an easy, potentially lay down type of sale. I usually will leave a bottom, you know, or show a bottom option of like right around $65 a month when I first show my 5 death benefit options. And let's keep one more thing in mind, guys. By the time I'm giving them the pricing options, we've already spoken about who the beneficiary is and who is like going to be stuck having to come up with the money to pay for their final expenses. So again, when they tell me that they can't afford any of the options that I've showed, I'll say, Sandy, and I always use their first name, I completely understand. Just give me one moment, please. And at that point, what I'll do is I'll go back into my sales book and I'll price out another option that's like, you know, maybe around $40-something a month. And I'll say something like, I know you mentioned the idea of the insurance is so that your daughter Letitia doesn't get stuck having to come out of pocket to pay for your burial or your cremation expenses. Can I make a suggestion? Be quiet and let them answer. And then what I simply do is point to the new option that I just wrote down and I'll say something like, well, let's go ahead and start right here. That way Letitia at least gets something to help pay for this, and you know, now you don't have to worry about her being stuck, you know, with having to, well, not only deal with taking care of you, you know, at probably the worst time of her life, but not having the money to do that. Go ahead and grab your ID or your driver's license for me, please. Now that we've addressed overcoming the affordability objection, let's talk about trust. When they do not trust you enough and you just haven't built adequate rapport, and that's usually what that's about, they may give you some nonsense like, oh, I never sign anything when I first meet a salesman, or, you know, maybe I need to talk to my financial advisor first, or I need to speak with my cousin Joe first before I do anything. Guys, there is no cousin Joe, okay? There's no financial advisor. They're just getting rid of you. That's all they're doing. But on the other hand, if they have a child that helps them, you know, with their finances, now that's different. And we're going to address that in a minute. But first, if you're doing your presentation right and you're spending a lot of time, I mean like as much time as it takes really, you know, with your prospect through, you know, to build that rapport, they usually won't give you these nonsense type of excuses. But sometimes they just need a little push. That's the truth. That way it helps them to kind of get over the edge and pull the trigger on this important insurance. This is when I go back to rebuilding rapport. The first thing I do, I pull out my insurance license, and FYI guys, I always, you know, when I'm out in the field, I've always got my ID badge hanging from the lanyard around my neck. And it's a little something that I custom made. It has my photo on it, my insurance license number on it, and it also has my agency logo on it. This is when I pull up the website that I created with one purpose in mind. And it's a cheap website, but it's designed to help build rapport. On the first page, it shows the BBB, the Better Business Bureau logo that we have with our A+ rating. And I asked them if they know who the BBB is, and I explained that, we have their highest rating. And then I go to the About Me page, and on that page, I show them the picture of my wife and myself holding a trophy. And I'll say something like, see this photo? My wife and I own the insurance agency, and I'll show them the logo and the logo that matches my ID badge around my neck. And then back to the photo. Like, I'll show it back and forth so that it's real clear who we are. And I let them know we even got an award for the way we do business. And once you're my client, Sandra, I'll be there for you for life. And that's when I go back to the pricing page and I point to the bottom option and say something like, can I make a suggestion? Zip it, let them reply. Let's just go with the bottom option, and then if you decide that you need more coverage later, I can always come back then. And that way, at least your daughter isn't going to get stuck having to pay the bill. Go ahead and grab your ID or your driver's license for me, please. I pull out a paper application and start writing, when they get up to get their ID. Yeah, I still use a paper app. At least that's what I lead with. You'll find that sometimes these folks just need a little push. And if you're 1, good at going back and rebuilding rapport, and 2, firm about getting them to move on this today, to pull the trigger now, you'll find that, well, they'll not only appreciate you, but they'll respect you for what you just did. I had a client recently call me with a service issue, and when we spoke, she reminded me, because this is someone that I met years ago, she reminded me that I had told her what to do and that I didn't even ask her, and that she's really glad that I did that she got the insurance. Pretty sweet. Remember at the beginning of the video when I mentioned that people will cancel sometimes? Well, when you build lots and lots of trust and rapport, and they can actually afford the insurance, it's not a financial issue, they usually won't cancel, right? But when they do, all you need to do is say something like, no problem, Janet, I will need to stop by and get this in writing face to face. Then you set up your appointment, you go back to their house, whatever the excuse is, just assume it's about cost. It's probably about cost. I mean, 9 out of 10 times, that's the issue. Then you just go back, rebuild rapport again, get them back on track, and apologize for overselling them, put it on you, and then do another price drop close with a lower face amount death benefit option. You're going to be able to save most cancellations by doing this method, and now you've got a client for life that you've actually earned. Put him or her into your CRM, and when open enrollment comes around, give them a call and get over there and sell them a Medicare Advantage plan or a Medicare supplement. Now that they've got like multiple insurance products with you, think about it. They'll always be your client and will actually refer you to their friends and family, right? Last but not least, when your prospect tells you that they cannot make a financial decision because their daughter or their son helps them with the bills or does their financials for them, you need to get that child on the phone. You need to get them into the picture right then and there. Sometimes the kids will already have it taken care of. Okay, that's fine. And you're done, right? But there are times when, like, I've closed the kid on the phone because they are definitely interested in getting their mom or dad insured. And other times when I would, come back later and meet with the daughter in person or son, they would want to buy. Sometimes you can do it over the phone. Sometimes you've got to set another appointment. For a copy of the warning page that I mentioned earlier, just email me at doug@ufesonline.com. For more information on selling final expense and or Medicare insurance products through us as a completely independent insurance agent, just email me at that same address. Remember, when you put the needs of your clients first, everything else will usually fall right into place. Now, get out there and do something good for someone today. Happy hunting.